From the Corner Office is brought to you by Synovus Bank, championing business growth through trusted, relationship-driven banking throughout the Gulf Coast region. Sometimes in business, you hear about the it factor, like he or she whom you're hiring or promoting just has it. NFL Hall of Famer and Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend has the it factor. He's also an engaging, smart, and interesting person to interview and listen to. While we don't always interview Hall of Famers on this podcast, the Business Observer often writes about top-notch leaders like Ronde every day online and every week in print. To read more, subscribe. Go to businessobserverfl.com. Hello, and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Ronde Barber, NFL Hall of Famer. Ronde, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, you are on. We're going to talk about the Valspar Championship and how you got involved with that and what that is. And then, obviously, we're going to talk about your career and leadership and looking up. You've played for some amazing coaches, and we talk a lot about leadership on this podcast. So I want to learn a little bit about some of the lessons you learned. But before we get into that, we start with some rapid fire first ever questions. And this is the first ever NFL Hall of Famer on the Business Observer podcast. This is where I think episode 145, almost 3 years in. So Ronde, we're going to go way back. Tell us, what was your first car?
My first car, a Hyundai Excel. My uncle passed it down to me, and it was not a very good car. It didn't last very long, let me put it that way.
But it was your first car, and I bet you loved it.
It did, and it was a manual transmission, so I had to learn how to drive that thing. And I think between me and my brother, I think we wrecked it. I think we wrecked the transmission in about 8 months. So,
yes, good learning grounds. You shared it with Tiki, I'm sure. What was the first job you had, Ronde? Maybe it was back in high school, but what was the first job you had?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate in that regard. My mom didn't make us work. She let us focus on sports and academics. But my first, what I would call real job, where I remember getting a paycheck, was we worked at this Chevrolet dealership in Charlottesville between our sophomore and, or I guess our second and third year at Virginia, which would be our sophomore and junior years of football season. And I had just had surgery on my ankle or my foot, and so I couldn't work in the body shop. Tiki worked in the body shop. I worked in inventory, like data in input. It was riveting.
I bet you were thinking about getting back on the field. I'm sure you're injured and you're doing computer work. Wow,
I couldn't wait. It was just like data entry. Yes. It was awful. But actually got to work with some cool people. And since the first question was about cars, this dealership is where we ended up getting I guess it was our third car. But we had Camaro our last year, and at Virginia, we got it from that dealership. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, you guys moved up in the car world. You were styling.
We definitely upgraded. And wanted to feel like we were cool as seniors. So
yes, succeeded. And when was the first time and where would you go outside the United States?
First time outside the States, I believe so I've never got on a plane before I went to college and got on a plane for a football
game.
So we had driven everywhere. I think my first time out of the States was to the UK. And we went to play golf. And went to watch a soccer game, Manchester United. So this was probably 2002, 3-ish. Yeah, it was a while before we left the continental U.S.
Right at the beginning of your professional career.
Right.
All right, Ronde. So you're obviously involved in the Valspar Championship and have been for several years. What is that? Obviously, it's a golf tournament, but tell us about what it is and what your role is there.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's loaded too, because the Valspar Championship is the PGA Tour event that's in Palm Harbor in the Tampa Bay area every March. But the Valspar Championship is much more than that. It's run by a host organization, which is Copperhead Charities. Now, Copperhead Charities is a 50-year-old organization that was founded 1977 to host professional golf. That organization is what I am general chairman of, and I've probably been, let me think how many years. I think this is 11 years that I've been on the board of that organization, and this is my 5th year in the role of general chairman. And it used to be a kind of a tolling position. You last 2 years and then roll into a past general chair. But I think 3 years ago, we amended the bylaws. Largely because our management company, which is ProLink Sports, and I think you guys probably know Tracy West, my tournament director, her boss Hollis, and the then CEO of Sherwin-Williams, which is the host parent company of Valspar, wanted to not change general chairs anymore, and they had a conversation, and I was amiable to it, and here I am, 3 years past my expiration date, still running Copperhead Charities. But I have a great team. I have a great board. My real job in that organization is to oversee the 150 other Copperheads and help them generate interest and sponsorship sales for this tournament every March. And then the best thing we do is the money that we give into the community. It's $1.6 million last year, almost $54 million over the life of this organization. So I'm just a steward of a really good role. There's been some great people in my position in the past, and I just happen to be in charge now.
Yeah, that's amazing amount of money. And as you said, your 3 years past, but you know how boards are, right? When you say yes once and
Exactly.
you have the stature that you bring, they want to keep you around. I can understand why.
Right. Like, do you want to do it? Are you willing to do it? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So it's been good. It's been fun, and I really love working with Tracy. Tracy is an unbelievable person, unbelievable leader. I say all the time that I'm the one in charge, but she's the one in charge. I just have the job that's over hers.
Yes. Well, and I wanted to ask you about Tracy West. I read that when you first, I don't know what year it was, but you were getting involved in it, and you had talked to Tracy about it. It's a business lesson that I saw in it that you said, hey, let's go bigger. Let's make this bigger, better. What were those conversations like about how you guys got the event where it is today?
Yeah, so I think that momentum started all the way back with the previous general chairman, Larry Morgan. And Larry Morgan was general chair when we left our previous, operation and hired a management company, hired ProLink Sports. So he was the first one to work with Tracy. And their expertise in running an event of our size was what really catapulted us into the direction that we went. He was succeeded by Les Muma, who was general chairman when he brought me on the board. And then 2 general chairmans after that. This tournament continued to grow and grow. But I think in 2018, I think probably got 4 or 5 years on the board at that point. And that's when we really hit this inflection point where this tournament got really big. And that got really big because one needle-moving golfer decided to play us, and that was Tiger. Tiger came in 2018, and our trajectory just it skyrocketed. And so I was going to be in charge a little bit, probably 2 years after that. Jim Ice was the general chairman then. And, like anything, you look at what you've done in the past and you realize, and these are some lessons that I had from football, is like you never really ever stay the same. You're either getting worse or you're getting better. And my competitiveness, I'm like, we got to find ways to get better. And what more can we do to get better? And so Tracy's a perfect person to have at the helm for that type of ascension, because she's like, find me something to build and find me somebody to buy it, and we'll make that happen. And I think since then, our tournament has evolved. I wouldn't say necessarily because of me, but certainly because of her ambition and our board's willingness to get behind her. And we've tried to create new opportunities for fans. We try to say it's more than just an event. It's than a golf event. It's an event. It's a family event. You can come do a lot of different things. at the Valspar Championship. But the reality is, we know we're putting on a golf event, but we know that we also need to entertain a lot of people, and we've seemed to do that over the years.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Ronnie, take us a little bit further back. I read, and you've talked about, I've heard you talk about your mom, the influence your mom had on you and Tiki growing up. Tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up and the influence your mom had.
So my mom was a single parent my mom and dad were divorced by the time we were 3, I think. And I said earlier that I didn't have a job until I was in college. And the reality is, she made it possible for us not to have to extend ourselves beyond what she was asking us to do, which was get yourself a damn good education. And if this athletic thing works out for you, great. But at the end of the day, you guys are graduating college and finding ways to be your best selves in the world. Obviously, we were good students, went to UVA. Tiki was valedictorian of high school. Like we were good kids. Football worked out. But a lot of the lessons I got in life about how to persevere and, how to work through adversity came from her. And, probably somewhat to a detriment, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but to a detriment, we learned how to do things on our own, because my mom did everything on her own. There's one thing that that she proved that you could do is overcome without overly getting help from somebody else, and it created this, I don't know, this sense in me and Tiki that as long as you put your mind to finding your final destination, nothing's going to prevent you from getting there. And she was amazing. I don't know how she did it. I don't know how we survived. She was, a manager for the Girl Scouts of America in Roanoke, Virginia, and she probably made $30,000 a year. And she made it seem like we never wanted for anything. And I think that's amazing. So, and at the same time, she was very inspirational in other ways. So when we went to college, Mark, she went back and got her MBA and would send us her grades every other week.
Wow.
I'm like, Jesus.
On her? We were like, where's the A? Where that's a B. We don't tolerate B's.
It's like, and I struggled my first year in Virginia. I was just like, I don't know how to handle all this. And she's like, well, the expectation is the expectation. So it was friendly, but it was, it was a sense, gave you the sense that it didn't matter what you were trying to accomplish, as long as you put your best foot forward, you were going to do it. And obviously, I ended up graduating from the business school there and whatnot. But yeah, my mom was a ridiculously impressive woman, and she's awesome to this day. She's the best.
That's amazing, and they're totally different circumstances. But I'm one of 3. I'm a middle child, and my family had some economic hardships. My dad had 2 jobs for a little bit, and I remember asking him, "How did you raise the 3 kids, do all this?" And he never really gave me a satisfactory answer, just kind of shrugged. Have you ever asked your mom how you went to school, did all these things, raised 2 boys, all this stuff? Do you ever ask her?
I have asked her, and she said it was what was required of me. It's a simple answer. And if you go back and think about, you probably could do the same thing. You go back and think about those instances in your teens, early teens, or whatever. And if your dad was like my mom, you realize she wasn't there a lot. She was doing things to make our lives better, all while at the same time never missing a sporting event, never missing an assembly, never missing a parent teacher or whatever. I would say the fact that I had a twin and probably that you had 2 other siblings, made that possible. We were never alone. And so we grew up, kind of learning life together, even if we were not with our parent that whole time. But I know she worked late some nights. I know she had some travel trips where she left us alone. We would be 14 years old. And my mom left us at the house by ourselves and said, "You guys can deal. Be responsible. There's a neighbor down the street. If you really get in trouble, you can go see Mrs. Bean. She's right down the street if you need anything. And she trusted us. I think the biggest thing there, and it just popped in my head as I said that, we gave her reasons to trust us, and that paid off in the long run.
Yeah, it's such a apropos connection to football, right? You give reasons to trust the player to do, right, what they're supposed to do as they prove that we can do this on the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And switching to your NFL career, I was surprised reading. I went back, I read your Hall of Fame speech and looked at your statistics. And one of the things I was surprised about was how much you said that being doubted, being overlooked, fueled you. You were on this defense with all these other big names, but you were a pretty big name too, and perhaps some pretty stellar statistics. How did doubt and being overlooked fuel your career?
Yeah, it's a good question. And then to answer that, I really have to go all the way back to probably high school. So quick synopsis of how my careers at all these levels worked. Went to high school. I didn't play as a sophomore. High school started in 10th grade for us. So went to high school, didn't start as a sophomore, really wasn't playing at all. Of course, Tiki was the starting running back, but I was, I had to wait my turn.
You were Tiki's brother.
Yes. And unfortunately, the kid that was playing ahead of me, he's Todd Dowdy, good friend of mine, ran track with him. He was also a twin. He dislocated his elbow or something, or got injured. I got a chance to play, and was an all-state that year. Obviously it launched into my junior, senior years of high school, turned into the great player, get recruited, go to Virginia. Essentially the same thing happens. Tiki's playing as a freshman, as a first year at Virginia. I get redshirted, and I wasn't ready to play, but I thought I was ready to play. I mean, my brother's playing. Why the heck am I not playing? This is it was frustrating. And I remember it's probably part of the reason why I struggled my first semester at Virginia. But it gave me a chance to bide my time and work on my craft and try to get better. Go into our second year at Virginia, which was my redshirt freshman year. And I led the nation in interceptions, all ACC, all American for the first time, ACC Rookie of the Year. It was that jumping point. I learned that patience sometimes pays off. Well, a lot of people remember my NFL career for what I've done or what I did at the end. At the end, you start accumulating my stats after year 16, and you start saying, "Man, this guy's pretty damn good." I remember all the big plays. A lot of people don't remember in year one. In Tampa, I get drafted in 1997, and I don't play at all. I played one game against Arizona. I played very poorly, and I didn't understand how to be a pro. I just didn't know what it meant, right? I thought I was ready. I had all the success, all these other levels, and it was different. But again, I had been through this before. I had been through it in high school. I'd been through it in college. And I got the same opportunity to go through it again in the NFL, and I knew how to respond. And so that first year, I basically practiced all year. That's all I did, and kept showing Herm Edwards and Tony Dungy. Herm Edwards was my DB coach. Tony Dungy, obviously my head coach. Show him that I could do this, that I could learn to be a pro, that I could find a way to take better care of myself and be somebody that could be trusted. To be relied upon. Well, that all kind of accumulated. That my rookie year, 1987, we played at Green Bay in our last playoff game. We ended up losing to them, but I got a jersey that day. I played that day. I was a starting nickel that day in Green Bay, and that was kind of the catalyst for the next 15 years in which I did miss a game, and I knew how to. Because I had been through it, I knew that there was a path, right? There was adversity. There was people that doubted, what I could do. I mean, I was small. I was 180 pounds and 5'9.5". But my production clearly outweighed that over the next 15 years. And there was people along the way, year 2, 3, 4, that all they could see was the failure from year one, and this, oh, he's gonna retreat back to that guy, and it just gave me motivation to be better than their expectations. I think those were my exact words in my Hall of Fame speech, and I used it. I'm not going to lie. I used it. I used it for fuel. Even when I had success, even after I made my first Pro Bowl, even after I was all pro, I was like, there's still people out there that don't think that I'm this good. And I think I said that to myself until I retired in 2012. So
it's pretty amazing that you just kept using it to fuel, and especially in this, it's a what have you done for me next world, right? We're already talking about, are the Seahawks going to repeat? Who's going to be back next year? You know, we're recording this the week after the Super Bowl, and you have to keep looking for what's next because you have to prove yourself, it sounds like, always.
That's exactly right. I mean, like I said at the very beginning, you're either always getting better or worse, right?
Yeah.
And you never stay the same. It's not possible to stay the same. So,
yeah. Talking about coaches and looking at your list of coaches, I'm sure we could do a lot on that, but you mentioned Coach Edwards, Dungy, Gruden. You have a history, or you have a experience with Coach Tomlin back earlier in your career. These are, people you just say their last names and you immediately get that image. As a fan, you get that image of who they are. What are, pick one coach for us, Ronde, and talk about some of the lessons you learned from that coach.
Yeah, probably the one I have the most reverence for is Mike Tomlin. He's a good friend still. We've kept up. We still vacation together. I was at his last game in Pittsburgh. He's a man of one-liners, dude. But they mean everything. And one of the best ones he told me ever. And this was after I was successful too. I think we had been together for a year. Maybe it was 2002, the Super Bowl year. Because the year before he came in, I led the league in interceptions. Well, the next year I didn't lead the league in interceptions, but Brian Kelly, who was my corner opposite me, led the league in interceptions. So it was just like, all right, is it me or is it Mike? Well, I think that next year we were in training camp, and we were just having those type of conversations that players and coaches have. And he goes, I'm going to tolerate you till I can replace you. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was subtle motivation. I knew he was, full of crap, but it was the sense that he wasn't going to treat me or anybody else better than the next guy, because you never know, that next guy might be better than you. It was a little motivation, but it was fun to go back in his face and be like, well, you're going to be tolerating me for a long ass time, dude. I learned probably most from him, but I would say there was a coach I had who's now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And the only reason I bring him up because he was my last coach in the NFL. I could tell you a lot about Raheem. I could tell you a lot about Jimmy Lake. I do have a lot of great coaches that have come through. But Jeff Hafley was my final coach, position coach in the NFL. And the cool thing about Jeff was that he was coming to the NFL for the first time. Now, obviously, he's successful. He was in Green Bay, and now he was a head coach of Boston College. Now he's a head coach of Miami Dolphins. But it was his first time in the NFL, and I was changing positions for the first time. I was going from corner to safety. And Jeff and I would spend so much time just like having these conversations about like, how do you prepare? How do I communicate with guys? Like, how do I get the rest of the room to be like you type, those type of conversations, taking notes and, doing all the little things, the detailed stuff. And Jeff gave me, because he's the leader, obviously he's the coach, he's the leader. He gave me a really interesting perspective on leadership, that it's not always from the top, right? Leadership can come from within. And as he was learning to be an NFL head coach, he was leaning on somebody that he was in charge of, which was me, to help better him in a leadership role. And there's a lesson there, right? And I think I've tried to use that, over the course of the rest of my life, really, in that, being in a position of power doesn't make you powerful. empowering other people does. And Jeff was really, really good at that. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or if he was just kind of eyes wide open, like, how do I deal with this situation that I'm in?
Yeah.
It ended up working out for him, and we talk still frequently. And he says, the most I learned in football, I learned from that 1 year with you, and I think that's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And so, are you kind of maybe sort of real rooting for the Dolphins, or is it in state? How do you handle that?
I will always root for Jeff Hafley. I don't know if I'll ever really root for the Dolphins.
Yes. Well, as we're winding down here, Ronde, we talk about Valspar. What other things are you looking forward to this year? What are you up to just in terms of your career and things you're doing right now?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, because obviously every year is a new year. We're what are we, February 12th right now, and we're less than about a month away. This week will be about a month away, and you would think all the hay's in the barn and we're ready to go. But I talk to Tracy probably 2 or 3 times a week during the year. Now we talk every single day, and you just never feel comfortable about where you're at, even though we're in a good spot. But you start looking at numbers, you start looking at ticket sales. But we put together another good week. We got Lee Bryce and Tyler Hubbard will be our concert on Sunday, Valspar Live, presented by Chick-fil-A. Just got to throw that tag out there. It's always our biggest day. We try to create new hospitality options every year. This year, we're partnering with John Gruden. I'm sure Tracy's told you about it if she hasn't. We're calling it the turn, officially calling it the turn between holes 9 and 10. And we have significant challenges every year. This year is certainly no different because we have March Madness in town. And I think it's somewhat affected, our sales to this point. But the reality is we're doing really well still. And we wanted to create a place where people who were going to watch March Madness, and I'll give credit to Paul Blaylock, he's on my board, a good friend of mine too. He came up with this. He's like, we need to have an area where, they're going to be at the golf course and there's an NCAA basketball game on, and some of them being played in our backyard here in Tampa, that we could see it. And so we got these LED boards going in. It's a new activation space for us. Our concessions, we'll have concessions and merchandise sales in there, and it's the turn. Sponsored by Barstool Gruden. It's a great partnership with John and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's new. I can't wait to see it when it's completed, because I'm going to say, why haven't we done this every year? Because it's a great place to put something like that in the middle of the golf course. So, otherwise, we have all of our private hospitality is pretty sold. We got a ton of shared hospitality, like the Owl's Nest and Snake Pit Club and Deck's Deck down in the corner of 11. So we're just we're at that point where our sales start to explode right now. It's always that last month, and that's why we're always like,
it's always the buildup. Did we do enough? I get it, 100%. Did we do enough to make this work?
Yeah,
excellent.
Exactly right.
Well, one final question.
Group, so I know it'll be successful.
Yes, awesome. We'll go check out the Valspar Championship for sure. And one final question, Ronde. It's February 12th, as we said. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who is going to win the next Super Bowl?
Oh, it's hard.
Super Bowl 61.
It's hard not to bet against Seattle. They have everything. The quarterback plays good enough. He's got great running back. If Kenneth Walker comes back, Kenneth Walker III comes back, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigma. He wants him to say his full name now. A great player. Cooper Kupp probably won't be there, but AJ Barner's a good player. And then the reason why I think they're always going to be competitive going now, because they have a young defense that plays really well.
Super hungry defense.
It's hard to bet against them, but if I had to throw it out there right now, I'm inclined to say Josh Allen has to win one.
Wow, I love it.
Right? They promoted Joe Brady to head coach, so that means they're going to have new life on defense, new coordinator, because Sean McDermott was a defensive coordinator, de facto defensive coordinator. So they're going to get new life on that side of the ball. Josh Allen's probably going to be MVP. I'm going to say Buffalo.
Well, I married into a Buffalo Bills family, so
I knew that. I could just feel it in the air.
You had the feeling. I grew up in New York, more of a kind of Jets, kind of Giants fan, but when you marry into a Bills family, That's who you are.
You're doing better with anything other than Giants and Jets right now.
Oh my goodness. Yes. for sure. Awesome. Ronde Barber, NFL Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordy. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.